Hello everyone, so today I'll be bringing you some games that I played as RAIZERS, which is currently the best deck in format, which you should know why. So let's just jump right into it. And the first thing to note is what I mulliganed just now. Because I started first, I mulliganed. My hand wasn't actually that bad. It had 2 grade 2s and 2 grade 1s, 2 grade 1 RAIZERS. But I mulliganed everything except for that one RAIZER custom there. So why did I do that? The reason why I did that is because in this deck you really have to rely on main riding your Perfect Raizer in order to, because he's such a good card for pressuring, just getting that PG out of your opponent's hand, or even cheesing games out of your opponent's hand when you check a crit. So he goes from 3 to 6, which I mean, I do play crits in this deck. As you can see, my Ashura Kaisers are critical triggers, and I do play 4 Ashura Kaiser. Deck profile, deck list is at the back of this video after this video ends. But for now, we play passively since we don't really have the best of hands. As you can see, 4 triggers. At least one of them was a Perfect Raizer, but you don't really want to see those types of hands in a game where triggers basically determine whether you win or lose. Especially heal triggers, but we haven't drawn any heals yet. Healer being yet. But we do have one heal in damage zone, and unfortunately, we checked the heal. Now, why I say unfortunately? Well, because we only have 1 damage and 1 face-up Column Blast now, which means we won't be able to use the skill of Perfect Raizer to get a Battle Raizer into our hand, so we can activate the skill. But we do top deck the Burst Raizer, so that we can have 4 RAIZERS in soul for the natural crit. Now, if I didn't draw into that Burst Raizer just now, I would have ridden something like Ashura Kaiser, and I would have boosted the Ashura Kaiser with the Battle Raizer from my back row, just to cycle through my deck a bit faster, just to get more cards in hand. Just pray I get lucky with my draws and trigger checks, just in general, because other than having like a bit of power, if you don't have the natural crit on Perfect Raizer, he's pretty damn vanilla. I mean, yeah. So anyway, as you can see, DP is going for their power play, which is giving their Vanguard 4k so that they can hit their power threshold for the critical trigger, for the natural crit. I mean, DP is a decent deck. I won't say it's terribly underpowered, it's at least decent in the current meta. I mean, it will fall off eventually, but it's still a decent deck. But it is basically just a worst Perfect Raizer, because their natural critical is Counter Blast restricted, or at least piece reliant, because you need a lot of pieces. Not only your Vanguard has to be, well, if you're playing Enigma Storm, which this person is playing, if you're playing Enigma Storm, you need to get your right chain off, or else you have to hit 5. You have to boost your Vanguard's power to 5k more, since Enigma Storm is a 10k base. He only gets the 1k from the right chain ability. So it's really piece reliant, because you need cards like that grade 3 heal over there to Counter Blast 2 and give your Vanguard the critical, or you have cards like Mass Police or that grade 1 that rests itself and gives the Vanguard 2k. Now, personally, I prefer the pure Dayusha build instead of the Enigma build, because I think it has a higher power ceiling, but it is slightly less consistent than the Enigma build, because in that build you do place a card called Platinum Ace, which is basically a grade 2 that has the same ability as Dayusha, as Enigma Storm, which is to gain a natural crit, which gives you a better grade 2 rush, a better turn 2 rush. But yeah, anyway, that's enough about DP. We are currently in a RAIZERS game showcase, not a DP game showcase. So let's continue on what we are doing. Now, our opponent had a very passive turn since they didn't check any triggers, they didn't really do can't really do anything with only 1 Counter Blast, so it's just 1 damage to us. Now, as you can see, quite funnily, we do get 3 Trans Raizers in a row, which gives us plenty of interceptors, but not very good when it comes to our offensive potential. Since, well, we just have a bunch of grade 2 interceptors on field, what can we do with that? So we do deal the damage to our opponent since our opponent doesn't have the PG in hand. I mean, it gives our opponent counter blast for them to be able to make their plays, make their to get their natural crit to push our PG out of hand. But it is still a good thing for us because, well, now we know he doesn't have any PGs in hand, so we can go for a game on our next turn. So anyway, but props to the DP player. He actually played he or she actually played really well by riding to Dayusha instead of doing anything else. I mean, it was his or her only chance to win the game, which is to pray I didn't have the PG in hand. But unfortunately, I do have the PG in hand, as you can see, so he can't really do much other than just smack. I mean, he has to pray for miracle heals, or if he drew into a PG earlier in the game, or he drew into PG this turn. But it is unlikely, and well, I don't include games where I lose, so you will be able to guess the outcome here. We attack with the Perfect Raizer, and yeah, we may have twin drive nothing, but we still deal 2 damage to our opponent, ensuring that even if he checks a 6 damage he'll need to do it twice. So that is GG. Now going into game 2, we'll be playing against Tsukuyomi, one of the tier 1 decks in the current format. I mean, the other clearly being Perfect Raizer, but Tsukuyomi is still good. They dig through their deck incredibly easily, but that is Tsukuyomi. We are playing Raizer, so let's focus on our own gameplay here. So we open up a fairly decent hand. We don't have a grade 2, but we are starting second, so we will have the higher chance of drawing into the grade 2 later on. But as you can see, unfortunately, our opponent misses their grade 1 Tsukuyomi and has to ride Chocolat, which is their PG, which is incredibly good news for us, since, you know, that's 1 PG out of our opponent's hand because he misride, and a 6k base leaves her open to be attacked from a grade 1 rush. This is usually what I do against decks that are against games where my opponent's on a grade 1, but the exceptions being against Kagero, since if you give them 2 damage, they can just snipe one of your rear guards, particularly your Battle Raizer, if you don't boost with it. So yeah, but anyway, we luckily do check the PG, hitting over the defensive that our opponent got from the damage dealt by our rear guard. So we do push our opponent to 3 damage already, and the game has barely even started, so that's a very good sign for us. Now, our opponent rides the grade 2 Tsukuyomi, but soul charges a PG, which is incredibly unfortunate. So, moving on, our opponent takes out our Burst Raizer, wants to deny that damage, and unfortunately soul charges a heal from Red Eyes. But yeah, that is 1 more PG on drive check, which means there's 1 more PG out of deck, which likely means that our opponent here doesn't have a PG in hand. So our Perfect Raizer will be incredibly deadly. Now, we do get the Death Army Lady down from our Trans Raizer, and I call the Burst Raizer behind so that if I get a trigger, I will be able to head over a defensive. So anyways, our Trans Raizer Vanguard attacks. We get the draw trigger, which means we just have a lot of pressure, and our Death Army Lady restands, giving us the ability to just smack face no matter what she checks for damage. So she is pushed to 5 damage already, and we aren't even on grade 3. She isn't even on grade 3. So this is incredibly strong. She may have a lot of hand, but as you saw from her soul charge, from her ride, and from her drive check, 3 PGs are out already. And that is incredibly bad against a Perfect Raizer deck when you don't have any PGs, especially if you're pushed to such high damage early on. All Tsukuyomi can really do now is pray she somehow is able to cycle to the PG at the bottom of the deck, or is able to cycle into a PG from hand to at least have the chance of surviving for one more turn. So the game goes on. She calls down 2 interceptors on the field, so okay. Taking care of our death farming lady and then smacking with Tsukuyomi. Unfortunately, no triggers on drive check, but it doesn't really matter too much right now, except for heal triggers, of course. Heal triggers are everything in this game. So we get pushed to 3 damage, but that's fine. There is a wasted heal, but it's still fine. We still have plenty of triggers left in deck. So what I was thinking right here is, my opponent probably has a PG in hand, so I might as well just potentially go for game over here. If I can't kill my opponent on this turn because she has a PG in hand, I can kill her and ensure that she does not have a double heal, or ensure that she has to check a double heal in order to survive and be able to kill me. So that's why I wrote it to Ashura Kaiser instead of our Perfect Raizer for the crit. So we then attack with our Ashura Kaiser, and for our trigger check we check nothing, but the attack still goes through and our opponent is dealt the 6 damage. But unfortunately for us, fortunately for her, she checks the heal trigger, which means she will survive another turn and it will be a bit more difficult for us to manage. But it is a good thing for us because now we know she doesn't have the PG in hand. She might draw into one, but if she can't call 2 interceptors this turn, which she does, but we at least know that she has to rely on the top deck draw and in order to get the PG in hand. So we know that we can so now we know we can just attack the Vanguard basically. So our opponent attacks, gets the draw. Now she has 2 chances of having a PG in hand. I mean, she won't have 2 PGs. One had gone to the bottom of the deck. I don't think she has cycled up until then yet. Actually, she might have, but well, that's Tsukuyomi. I don't play Tsukuyomi. But we do check a few unfortunate triggers here and there. I opt not to ride into the Perfect Raizer because, well, I mean, I would have to sold in my rear guard, and checking a trigger is as good as drawing. Checking a trigger is as good as getting one more PG on my opponent's hand, and can hit over a 6 damage shield too. So yeah, we attack with our Vanguard. We get the trigger. So if she's 6 damage heals on this damage, we will be able to hit over that 21k power threshold and be able to just go for game. And she does not have the PG in hand, and let's see, does she get the heal? No, she does not, and that is game, a very short one indeed. And now we move on to our final game here against the Truth, who actually is Max from the previous video, if you could remember that, or if you even watched my previous video. But thank you for the 100 views on that one. So yeah, so again with our mulligan style, we chuck everything that isn't Raizer and we draw into that perfect hand. Chucking those 4 cards was exactly what I needed in order to get that perfect Raizer and those 2 grade 1 Raizers into my hand. So yes, that was definitely the right choice here. Now we did talk via Discord, but it was incredibly toxic, but well, I'm pretty sure he'll appreciate it if I don't mention that at all. Actually, I think he will not appreciate me not mentioning Discord fight, but anyway, our opponent here will be playing Ember Dragon's Kagero, and he's a pretty decent Ember Dragon player. He has, if I'm not wrong, he's currently Legend 17 or something, and he pushed that with Ember Dragon, which even though it is the post-errata Ember Dragons deck, it is still decent, even though it is arguably worse than Conroe Waterfall. So yeah, anyway, we get the Brutal Jack and we attack. Now we attack with our Vanguard, boosted by Raizer if the game actually does it. Yeah, we attack with boosted by Battle Raizer. The reason why we want to do that is because Kagero has Berserk Dragon, and we do want to get the drive check from our Vanguard so that we can either heal the damage or we can get the critical to deal even more damage to our opponent. So yeah, our opponent is getting pretty lucky with his draw triggers though, so he does have a huge hand, and Kagero can outlast Perfect Raizer quite easily with a huge hand like this. So yeah, he calls down the rear guards, he calls down an interceptor, and he still has an incredibly huge hand, and he goes for the very smart move that is not giving my Vanguard not giving me 2 damage, 2 open counter blasts. That's why I'm not too fond of Brutal Jack. Actually right now I have 2, but I only play 1 in the deck. I think as a one-off he's fine, but the counter blast is like, you would rather use the counter blast for something else like Perfect Raizer's ability. So instead we want to get value of Perfect Raizer's ability, so we ride into Ashura Kaiser. Now the game is lagging a bit, so yeah, we call down the Trans Raizer, we don't get anything down, so that's unfortunate, but we do attack our rear guard. We get a heal trigger, so we are on the heal trigger procs, and we are on 1 less damage. That's very nice. It gives us better chance of surviving for longer periods of time, because Ember Dragons can really stall the game out with how controlled it can be, especially against a deck like RAIZERS, even though it doesn't have the consistency of something like Conroe, which can search out their PG at any moment. He seems to miss right into Vortex Dragon. Now Vortex Dragon, he's a cool card. I mean, you'd rather play other things if you have the budget, if you have the cards for it, but as a budget option, Vortex Dragon isn't bad. He's a 12k attacker as well as a potential retire tree, which is pretty good, especially if you don't own any overlords. And as you can see, our opponent is doing a lot of is going to be very powerful. He puts both triggers on rearguard, ensuring that even a defensive won't even save us, and we are pushed to 3 damage. Our hand is measly compared to our opponent over here. Now, what do we do? What should we do, in fact? We ride into Perfect Raizer, we activate a skill to get the Battle Raizer. Now, I called both Grade 1 Raizers. Max actually called me out on this, but I personally don't think it's a misplay. I just prefer to soul in my Grade 1s my Grade 1s instead of my Battle Raizer when I have the chance, because Battle Raizer, again, a filter 1. I would rather have another potentially good card than just like a 7 or even a 6k card. And we do check the draw, which will give us more hand size to be able to survive the turn. And we do check another heal, which means we will be able to survive even longer, making it more difficult for our opponent to outlast us, or at least make it more difficult for our opponent to get us to the point where we have so little resources we'll have to do something like attack the rear guard with our 23k 2 crit Vanguard, because we don't have any rear guards on field. So yes. Now another good thing about Perfect Raizer is that you can damage deny. Our opponent currently, I believe, has 5, or after this turn has 5 soul. Yeah, on this turn if he doesn't ride, he will have 5 soul, and will be able to go for the Mega Blast on next turn if he has the 4th damage, the 4th open counter blast. But we didn't give him the damage over here because Perfect Raizer forces the PG out of hand, because that's how PG rules work. I mean, personally, I think it's a bit stupid that PG's rules are like that, but the game is the game. So we do get a push to 4 damage, but the heals did come, so yeah. Anyway, we still don't want to deal 4th damage to our opponent right now. He's typing some or he was typing some toxic crap about me and about 50 cards. Speaking of 50 cards, join the 50 cards Discord if you haven't heard of it. He did not pay me to do this, but I'm gonna say that. Cool guy. Cool guy. So, anyway, we call the Trans Raizer down. Unfortunately, the top card of our deck is a heal, but, well, it's a heal. So, anyway, we put both our interceptors down so our opponent has as little chance as possible to be able to kill us, because we have stuff like Blockade and stuff like Dragonic Overlord, which can just get rid of interceptors on field, which does make it kind of stupid that we call it on field, but that's besides the point. Anyway, we do get the PG out of our opponent's hand, and our opponent currently only has 3 open Counter Blast, and we don't give our opponent the 4th damage to be able to Mega Blast and retire our entire field, including our interceptors. So, right now, our opponent Rise Dual Axe Dragon. It seems that he is breaking quite a bit here by not having any cards on field. But he does have the Blazing Flare, which is gonna be really annoying since it gets rid of one of our interceptors. And that column will hit over defensive, meaning our current PG in hand will be forced out of our hand. So it is incredibly unfortunate for us. But overall, we are still in a decent position. It's not good, but it could be better, but it isn't terrible. It's not like we are definitely gonna lose. But in a situation like this, I would just try and go for game. Basically, deal my opponent the 4th damage, so when my Perfect Raizer attacks, I can just whoosh. But we do draw into a PG on our turn, so instead of attacking and dealing the 4th damage to our opponents, we go a bit more calculated per se. A more calculated approach to this. Getting the 2 Counter Blasts to ensure that my Ashura Kaiser column can hit over defensives is a bit but it's still fine, because other than your first Perfect Raizer ride, you don't use too much Counter Blast in this deck, so it's okay. It's not bad to waste the Counter Blast. Now, on our drive check, we do check the crit, which means our opponent will get killed if he does not have a PG in hand, and he does not, which basically puts him to 6. Now, this is the reason why I play critical triggers instead of going all 9 draws, since you can just straight up cheese games on this one. So yeah, that's basically all for today. That's the games for RAIZERS. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed it, do smash the like button. That's cringe, but if you enjoyed it, do show some appreciation by hitting that like button, commenting down below. If you really care for stuff I make, just subscribe, I guess. I mean, yeah. Also, here's the list I've been using. It's not full build. I only have 3 Perfect Raizers, but it's still a doable list, and I am currently at Legend 27. That's a dead meme. But I am currently Legend 27, which is pretty high on the leaderboards right now. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks. See ya.